That sort of thing gets you canceled.
Like, oh. Oh, we back, baby. It's Monday. Time to get going. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on the radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? How was your weekend? Restful, relaxing, busy, exhilarating? I hope, regardless of what it is, that it was spectacular. I am Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass, this AM in charge of not only this radio broadcast, but every radio broadcast that you like. He, ladies and gentlemen, is hashtag DadKicks, Colonel Grudge, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate. He is the great one. Lonzo is here as well, the A-lister that he is amongst the people of the upstate of South Carolina. How you doing, buddy? How was your weekend? I know it was slammed up busy.
It was extremely busy. I am surprised that I am moving as well as I am today because spending that much time as an older gentleman.
You? No.
Yes. On concrete floors. It's movement was not very good for a while. And but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. So.
SC Comic-Con was spectacular this weekend. Had a blast up there. I did not make it up on Saturday, unfortunately. I did make it yesterday. Had a fabulous time. Lonzo, rolling around as the king of the dorks, was just crushing it. And as Hudson said, who Lonzo had the pleasure of meeting over the weekend, gave out some, quote, free hand hugs.
Yeah.
Which is a weird way to say handshakes, but I like it.
It is. It's the first time I've ever heard it mentioned that way, and now Rob will call it that way for me every single time. But yeah, it was cool meeting you, Hudson, and all the other folks that I got to meet, and all the people who just yelled my name, which is what I prefer. Yell my name, so I don't. Here's the thing, after meeting someone, I always feel like I have to talk to my manager. It's did I handle that well? Because I always feel like that more is expected out of me and I don't deliver when I meet someone personally. Like I watch you, people go away going, yeah. People walk away from me going, so I mean, I'm working on it.
By the way, we have a new member of the Rob Brown Armada out there. At Poncho on Twitter just said, just started my new job at Bud last week, so I enjoyed some brewskis this weekend. Shout out your local beer delivery man. Ladies and gentlemen, a true hero of the upstate is Poncho, making sure that we all thirst quenched when required. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show Armada, buddy. Good to have you. And of course, as always, a shout out to our truck drivers and delivery drivers and mailmen and cops and firefighters who are part of the Rob Brown Show Armada. We appreciate you greatly.
Then if you know any sponsors out there who would like to sponsor my board, my whiteboard back there, although part of it I see is glared out.
We got to move your light. We didn't set the light. We didn't stage the set
that's
properly.
But we're learning here. I also need stencils because yes, my writing sucks.
It's not great.
But you know what? It's artistic writing.
It's artistic writing.
Yes, it's what it is I'm tagging my board. So if I was tagging a building or a locomotive or something like that, yes, I went locomotive and not train. You go, yeah, that's Lonzo's tagging because it's unique. It's mine.
What's he talking about? You might ask if you're listening on the radio. Do I have good news for you? You can find out by going to facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, searching the Fan Upstate on YouTube or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Lonzo has decided to go old school first take Woody and put the whiteboard over his shoulder.
Woody Page. Yeah. You need to throw that.
That's his name, Woody.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Lonzo went Woody on the
And
air.
also, stop it.
What if that's the man's name and he put he made the whiteboard famous?
Oh, speaking of which, costume contest for South Carolina Comic-Con, someone came as To Infinity and Beyond, Buzz Lightyear. It was excellent. It was very good.
If he wasn't there,
see the correlation, Woody and Buzz.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. There was a guy there that was Stanley. Did you see Stanley?
Yes, I saw Stanley.
That guy was incredible.
Yeah, he was in line with us Saturday when we first got there. It was like, look, there's Stanley. And dude was playing it well. Yeah, he was too.
Incredible. I talked to him. He was great. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a stocked, locked, and loaded show for you here on the radio broadcast. We have NBA playoffs taking place, the first series underway across the East and the West, and a lot of news, notes, updates, and injuries. Tyler Hero is going to be out for the Miami Heat, broken hand. Giannis Antetokounmpo, as the Bucks drop game 1 to Miami, might be out for game 2. He went to the rack, as he is wont to do. He went to the rack very physically, as he is wont to do. He got Kevin Love up underneath him, taking a charge, and Giannis came down hard on his back, suffered a back contusion, tried to walk it off in game 1, was unable to return, and now the Bucks may have to miss Giannis Antetokounmpo for game number 2. We will get a update on that later on in the radio broadcast. Paul George is out for the entirety of the first series for the LA Clippers, who were already the underdogs going up against the Phoenix Suns. We'll talk about that. Ja Morant left the game in the fourth quarter against the Lakers. Anthony Davis stepped up underneath Ja to take a charge. Ja came down hard on that right hand. He had already had an injury to that wrist. He came down with the back of his hand against the court and then compressed it the wrong way. We will get an update on Ja Morant later on in the show. So a lot of NBA ball. It is the beginning of the National Hockey League's Stanley Cup playoffs. It is, ladies and gentlemen, my second favorite postseason in all of sports. My first is college baseball. My second is the National Hockey League, the Stanley Cup playoffs. We are set. Your Carolina Hurricanes are set to take on the New York Islanders in round number 1 after they win the division. But do they have a little something different this year? Carolina has been a mainstay in the NHL playoffs, yet have just been unable to get that finishing blow to make it to Lord Stanley's Cup finals. Is there something different this year for the Canes? We'll talk hockey later on this week, and Kyle Sullivan from the Locked On podcast will join us either later today or hopefully tomorrow to give us a breakdown on that series and all 16 teams that have made it to Lord Stanley's Cup playoffs. That's coming up later on in the radio broadcast, but allow us to dive headfirst into the discussion du jour. And that, of course, will be the spring games of both the Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers. Both of them went on Saturday. Let me make over and abundantly clear, I do not care who had more people in the building. I don't care. I don't. Both of them had around 51,000. Everybody play nice. All right. It was fine. The attendance was good for a pair of teams that both have lofty aspirations this year. I would rather just talk about football.
Yeah. So I, this morning, over the weekend, I saw some things and I couldn't wait to get to work so I could, disparage anyone who would like to, make an entire show or article or something around the fact of, our team had more fans than yours at their spring game, but you took care of it. You and I are on the same wavelength on this. It's in the end, what it comes down to is which team won the last time they met each other. And that would be the South Carolina Gamecocks. So I'm glad that you had a lot of people at your spring game. I'm glad they had a lot of people at their spring game. But it's a spring game. It is a scrimmage. We talked about this Friday. It's a scrimmage. It's not. I mean, unless you're getting more people there for charity, which you should do, because that would be kind of cool if you're competing with each other for a charity. Then get as many people in there as you can. And you're excited about your team. You're excited about football. But it's not worth making that big of a deal over.
I just want to talk ball, y'all. I just want to talk ball. On the Clemson side.
One more thing real quick. I didn't see anything about the football being played. It's all over social media. All I saw was about the crowds. But there was actual scrimmage going on in both cities, right?
I just want to talk ball. I just want to talk ball. I mean, if you guys want to hurl bombs at each other, have at it. I will gladly serve as the platform for you to insult each other, but I want to talk ball.
It's kind of lazy, though. It is kind of lazy.
So, over on the Clemson side of things, young players stepping up. Clemson was missing a handful of guys due to injury. They decided to go best on best, 1v1s. First team offense, first team defense, and then spread up everybody else between the two. And the result with the injuries, with guys like Will Shipley having to sit out, was that you had some young dudes not just step up, but show out in that game. Peter Woods being one of them. And we're going to talk about that later on in the show. Over on the South Carolina side, I thought there was a lot of good. For instance, one of the things that I was very excited to see was just how involved the tight ends were in the offense of Dow Loggins. Now, for both squads, before anybody starts deciding that they figured it out, it's a spring game. It is kept vanilla. It is kept simple. The game plans, the strategies are walked back.
Wait. So you couldn't look at both these scrimmages and go, yeah, see, he got the better offensive coordinator. You couldn't do that?
No.
Oh, man, just took something else from somebody. I'm sorry, my bad.
Game. It is vanilla. It is low key. You weren't going to see everything. The entire premise and point of a spring game is very simple. Go out there, have a little fun. We'll hear, in fact, I pulled a bunch of audio from both Shane and Dabo that we're going to get to here in just a little while. Go out there, enjoy the reward of 15 spring practices by getting to play a little football. Show us that you have mastered the offensive foundation. Show us that defensively you are not going to get panicked when you see some fresh looks from the best D1 players that your school can muster. And I think we got that out of both teams. I will tell you this. I walked away optimistic about both South Carolina and Clemson after their spring game, but I saw something out of Clemson that I want to be optimistic about. But I also think we are going to have to see when it gets to be week one, and that is the youth. Those are the young guys. Those are the guys who stepped up, had big days as freshmen or sophomores. Dabo pointed out in this spring game, he had something like 15 mid-classmen starting, and he had something like 7 or 8 either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen starting. Clemson is going to have to some degree, rely on the youth movement this year. Will that translate to another successful season? We're going to talk about that based on what we saw in the spring. Over on the other side, I know it's early, and I certainly don't like to talk about one guy coming out of the spring game, but allow me to say something that is going to make Lonzo roll his eyes. Lenore Russ Wilson Sellers. Lenoris looked good. He looked confident. He looked shifty. He looked quick. And You know, obviously the focus is going to be on Spencer Rattler, and I'm good with that. But Lenoris Sellers, my guy, looked like he knew exactly where he needed to be and what he needed to do. We're going to come to that later on.
So you're saying we're going to be talking about quarterback controversy?
No. Okay,
because that's what I'm getting out of this.
No. Not a quarterback controversy.
I didn't roll my eyes because he told me I would.
Spencer Rattler is number one. There's no question. But I do think the question of Lenore Russ Wilson Sellers playing time is going to have to be had.
All right. So you're just saying he looks like Russell Wilson. Is that why?
Lenore Russ Wilson Sellers. Lenore Russ Will. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't make me look it up to see. That's not his name.
So let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, we will start with South Carolina spring game. I've got some audio from Shane Beamer's post-game presser. We're going to break that down as well as some of the things that we saw, didn't see, wanted to see out of South Carolina. Then, when we start the 10 o'clock hour, we will do the same for Clemson. Pulled a bunch of audio from Dabo Swinney's post-game presser. We'll hear some of the things he had to say up to and including, as I mentioned, his thoughts on having so many young guys have to go and how they performed. That is all coming up on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you, this is the Fan Upstate. All right. I got to go move my audio roster over. I will be right back.
I'm going to walk around the corner and check the air. I'm not leaving. I'm just walking right over there. You can't see me pointing. Mine, Rob, already fixed it. Had to sit out an extra 5 minutes this morning and could not park where I wanted to park because the geese and all the geese children just decided to stop there. And there was someone coming around the other corner and they couldn't park either as we watched and tried to figure out what the stinking geese were going to do. And every time I see the geese, I think of Buddy Hackett from Scrooged asking the kid to get a goose. So that means people actually eat geese. Have you ever ate a Christmas goose before? Don't think I have. I've had duck before, but I don't think I've ever had goose. You ever ate goose before?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Because
I probably have.
I had to wait a good 5 minutes this morning as they tried to figure out what they wanted to do with their children. There was one unruly one. I labeled him as Lonzo, who decided to stay up on the curbs like, nah, I ain't going. And finally had to turn around and squawk at the thing, and they just come out running and went to the front of the pack, and then they moved. They're also fighting each other. And there was someone coming around the other way wanting to park also. And first they're looking at me like, what are you doing? Because me and this person who works at the dental office, we often get in this standoff where I'm trying to turn left and she's trying to also turn left into parking spots. But then she saw why I was sitting there. Because you don't know what they're going to do. I was afraid that they would just like run underneath my car or something. And then you get out and they start eyeballing you.
Swamp Rabbits playoff starts in a couple of days. That is correct. They
on the road or at home?
2 on the road, 3 at home, 2 on the road. Dan Orlovsky with a hot take of, unless the contract negotiations change, Lamar ain't playing with Odell. Yeah, that's how contracts work, Dan. If you don't have one, you don't work there.
You get paid to say something. You got to say something.
I mean, I guess. Would donuts for a week get me on the whiteboard as a sponsor?
No. It might for him, though, but not for me, because I don't know if you guys know this. I'm not really that big of a donut fan. People keep bringing me donuts. I mean, I'll take a couple bites and they're good, but I can't handle the pure sugar of them.
Rob ate healthy all weekend, up to and including. I turned down brewskis and barbecue at Comic-Con. I ate a chicken breast for lunch yesterday, air fried with very little seasoning. And what I can tell you is that being healthy does not taste great. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Let's get to some talk about South Carolina spring game. Got a chance to catch the highlights of that on Saturday. I have to tell you, though, that outside of just a little bit of work, I pretty much spent the weekend on the couch. And I got to tell you, 26-year-old Rob hates that statement. Yesterday, we got to the end of the day. I was sitting on the couch watching spring game recaps from Clemson and South Carolina. And the lady friend was like, hey, are you good that we're not doing anything today? And I realized it was like 4:30 in the afternoon. All I had done was went up to Comic-Con for about, 2 hours or so. Went and took care of one errand, went back home and had the pajamas back on at like 3 in the afternoon. And it was spectacular. All I did yesterday afternoon was show prep and watch football. And it was great.
By the way, on the stream, text line 71307, speculate what kind of pajamas Rob was wearing.
Yeah, speculate. I'll just tell you.
Don't take the fun out of it.
So let's get to some South Carolina thoughts. And let me tell you the first thing I noticed. Dow Loggins' offense, even in a spring showing, did something for me that Marcus Satterfield's did not the last 2 years at Carolina. And that is take advantage of the tight ends in play and take advantage of Spencer Rattler's lateral mobility and develop a short to mid passing scheme. Sat's offense was either vertical shots or the run game primarily, which when you got guys like Juice, that's fine, right? Go down the field every now and then. But when you solely rely on the vertical passing game, you're going to get DBs that start to cheat it. And if you still rely on it when DBs are cheating, it can cause problems. Now, there were spots at the end of the year, Tennessee and Clemson, where it looked like the play calling had developed. And that is why, if you go back to the end of last year, Rob Brown put on his tinfoil cap and went conspiracy theorist that Satterfield was no longer in control of dialing up the plays by himself, mainly because the offensive scheme as a whole changed up in the spring game. And again, it is the spring game. You're not seeing the whole book. But the part of the book we did see included a chapter called The Short to Mid-Range Passing Game, written by Dow Loggins. I was very happy with that. In fact, on the opening drive of the game, Spencer Rattler found a young man by the name of Trey Knox, a transfer in from Arkansas, for the touchdown. Now, maybe he didn't need it because Rattler would have run that one in before that had it not been whistled dead because it was, again, the spring game. But Trey Knox looks like a guy who will factor heavily into that. I have told you guys already that I think South Carolina about week 7 is going to look at Jaheim Bell at Florida State and go, we screwed up. But Trey Knox is going to ease that pain a little bit. That guy is big. He can absolutely catch the football. And most importantly, he showed off that he understands the mid-range pass game in terms of reading where backers are, covering the middle of the field, finding the open slot between them, and trusting Rattler or Lenore Sellers or Luke Doty or whoever will be the backup to deliver the football. Shane Beamer saw the same thing. Let me grab clip number 4D, if you don't mind here, Zoe, because friend of the show, Emily Adams, who covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News and will hopefully join us on the program either tomorrow or Wednesday to break down the spring game, she noticed the same thing. And she asked Shane Beamer in the postgame presser, are we going to see more involvement out of the tight ends this year? And Shano had this to say about that group.
I would love to tell you that, and Ben was there when the first caller of the radio show on Thursday night asked me if we were going to throw to the tight end this year. I'd love to say that it was part of the plan to get the ball to the tight end based on the question I got at Carolina Calls on Thursday night. But no, it wasn't. That was just kind of how it happened. But you'll continue to see a lot more of that. We got a really good tight end group. Like, we're better at the tight end position than we were last year. And that's not coach speak. We're much better. We're deeper. We had good players last year, but those guys were, Nate Adkins was kind of a do-it-all type guy for us, but a lot of those other tight ends were maybe really good pass receivers or good with the ball in their hands, but maybe weren't great run blockers. And maybe one guy was really good blocking, but wasn't great running deep routes or whatever it may be. So I think the group that we have right now, I say that we're better because we have more of them. We went from walking off the field in the Gator Bowl and we didn't have a single scholarship tight end on our roster to now we've got, 6, I think, scholarship-wise, and some good young walk-ons as well. And all those guys, they can do multiple things. When you look at that tight end group, you don't look at any of them and say, well, he's very limited and struggles in this capacity. I mean, we got to get better, don't get me wrong, but I think there's between Josh and Trey and Nick, those are older guys that can do a lot of things. And then I'm excited about these young tight ends as well that we have here also.
Now, let me start with this. The statement, we are better in the tight end room this year than last year, I don't know that I can agree with that. Okay? I genuinely, truly believe that Jaheim Bell is going to prove himself to be the most underused player maybe in college football last year. Mike Norvell's offense at Florida State heavily relies on the tight end. Jaheim Bell is playing there this year. I think you're going to see that kid turn in numbers. And I don't think that Trey Knox is better than Jaheim Bell. I just think Jaheim Bell was not utilized properly or frequently enough in Sat's offense to show what that guy can do. But that's speculation. We will find out. And by week 6 or 7 of the college football season, I will either be eating crow or crowing that I was correct, one or the other. What I can say is that Trey Knox showed that he is not only a physical tight end, and not only can he recognize the defense, sit in a zone and catch the ball, but he's a pretty good run blocker as well. That is a question I had about Bell. Jaheim Bell's a phenomenal player in terms of catching the ball. He's a very physical guy. He's an absolute freak of nature, but he did not always seem uber committed to run blocking. And if you're a tight end that is not committed to run blocking, what happens when you come on the field? You're very obviously in to run a route, right? You're either in to run a route or you're in to attempt the run block, in which case you're a liability. And I know if I'm dialing up pressure on that play, I'm bringing it to the strong side. I'm bringing it to the tight end side so that I can attack that vulnerability. That is a question mark that was fair to place on Jaheim Bell. You don't get that with Trey Knox. Trey Knox is absolutely a guy that can run block, can also get down the field and catch the football. So there is a lot of potential in Trey Knox. Finished with a game-high 6 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown for the black team. On the other sideline, Josh Simon is a Western Kentucky transfer. He led the Garnet team. 5 catches, 26 yards in that one. You also had freshman early enrollee Connor Cox, who logged a 5-yard reception as well. Under Sat, Bell and Stogner. Remember, Stogner came over from Oklahoma, where he played in part with Spencer Rattler, guy he had some chemistry with already. Jaheim Bell, a physical freak, a guy that is linebacker size playing tight end. He and Stogner combined for less than 500 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns on 45 catches. They averaged independently of each other fewer than 20 yards per game. That is why a bunch of folks, myself included, criticized Satterfield. The Gamecocks lost to Missouri last year. Missouri was a very winnable game. Missouri was cheating the vert. They were placing outside DBs, having them play off, having them turn and run as soon as wide receivers got down the field. The middle of the field was more often than it wasn't wide open. There were 0 tight end targets, not catches, not receptions, not yet. There were 0 targets to tight ends in that game. That was a problem. That was something that I complained about. In this spring game, and again, vanilla playbook, calm down. In this spring game, tight ends led both the Garnet and the Black team in receptions. That is a team quarterbacked by Spencer Rattler. That is a team quarterbacked by Luke Doty, with Lenora Sellers stepping in later on. That is remember a chunk of the reason Spence came back was why? Because Wells was coming back. He was getting his number 1 back, right? If he decided to go pro, it wouldn't shock me to see Spence follow him, but they decided to come back together primarily because of what they built last year in a year where you got your number 1 wide receiver back. Who did Spencer Rattler lean on? The tight ends. Because it is a talent-full position at South Carolina, one that was not underutilized. Drastically and hilariously underutilized last year, and Dow Loggins, who, by the way, served as tight ends coach at Arkansas. So I kind of suspected we would see more tight end usage out of the offense. The only concern I have this year is, do you overcorrect the other way? Do you create an offense under Dow Loggins, a tight ends coach at Arkansas, that leans too heavily on the short game? Do you get away from the verts entirely in preference of just dinking and dunking down the field with running backs and tight ends? We're not there yet. I'm not freaking out about that yet. What I saw yesterday was an offensive playbook on both sides of the football where the offense saw what was given to them, and when what was given to them was a big pass-catching tight end across the middle, they put the ball in his hands and let him make plays, and it led to tight ends leading both teams in receptions, and the opening TD scored on a beautiful thread-the-needle pass to Trey Knox right across the center of the field, because that was what was open. Go back to the play before that, and what did you see Spence do? He tried to throw the float post pass over into the corner to Juice. It was covered up. The DBs had cheated to the outside and were able to take that route away. So what did they do on the very next play? They ran the same outs out of the wide receivers. They let the DBs and the linebackers cheat outward to protect the boundaries. They ran Knox across the middle, and they hit him for a TD. That's exactly what I wanted to see out of the Gamecock offense, and they gave it to me yesterday.
I think you're putting a little too much emphasis on the offensive coordinator last year. I think a lot of it, or at least some of it, was Spencer Rattler, because he was unsettled. His feet weren't good. I think his confidence was shaken early on in the season. And then once he got all that back and started playing better and had better confidence, things went better for South Carolina. And but I hope you're right. And as you can tell from Shane's comment, and this happens on both shows, on Shane's show and on Clemson's show, for some reason people are fascinated with the fact that they don't throw to tight ends. And you finally get called on in the coach's show to ask a question, and that's the fallback. Why don't you guys throw to tight end a little bit more? That's always the fallback. It's not a bad thing. It's not I realize that throwing to a tight end is a good thing. Trust me, one of my favorite players is the best tight end in all of football in the NFL, and that would be Travis Kelce.
Are the Chiefs without Kelce? Hell no.
I don't want to.
Hell no.
I don't want to find out.
Correct. Because the answer is hell no.
I don't want to find out. I don't know, but I don't want to find out.
The answer is hell no. The Chiefs are not the Chiefs without Travis Kelce. That's just a fact of life. Travis Kelce has made – listen, Patrick Mahomes is a wildly talented quarterback, but Kelce's made him, all right? And that's not a shot. That's a compliment to both. Here's the thing about what you said about Spencer Rattler. I'm not even going to say you're wrong. But what I am going to point to is, again, go back to the couple of losses last year that should not have been losses for South Carolina. And in both of them, well, two of them, you are going to see the tight ends with like a target or two. And it's I think it's fair for you as an analyst to say, oh, that's a fan fallback, right? Like that's a fan fallback. But when you're going up against Missouri, who has okay linebacker play and we're cheating the verts, and they have zero. I think it's one thing if they have 3 or 4 targets and a couple of catches for 15, 20 yards. I think it's fair to go, well, they were trying to work the tight end game and it just wasn't available. 0 targets, right? And the flip side of that is, if you're going to lean on, and again, I think it's fair to do so, Spence needed some time to find his confidence, find his rhythm, find his chemistry. That's all well and good. What is the thing that we have been saying in this NFL draft up until and even after the signing of Hayden Hurst to the Carolina Panthers? Ultimately, what is a tight end? A quarterback's best friend. A tight end is a quarterback's best friend. We have heard Hayden Hurst say it. We have heard Frank Reich say it. We have heard quarterbacks across college football and the NFL say for years, if you are not in a rhythm, in the zone, in your comfort zone, and connecting well, a tight end should be a quarterback's best friend. So if Spence truly was rattled or shaken or not able to find his confidence last year, that should have upped at least the targets. Forget the receptions. Let's say that Jaheim and Stogner were terrible pass catchers. They weren't. But for the conversation, they were. At least the targets should have been upped, if not the yards in receptions, and they were the opposite.
What if a certain player had family members that just yelled and screamed all the time about a certain player not getting the ball, to the point where possibly the quarterback went, yeah, I know the tight end is my best friend because my best friend came here with me, but if I throw the ball to him too much, then that other person's family is going to get all up in arms and yell and scream about me not giving him enough passing. And so he's thinking about all this stuff while he's out on the field and misses open targets because of that. We're not going to have that problem this year because that, who I consider an overrated player, is no longer with South Carolina. And the headache of all the whining and complaining about him not getting enough balls thrown his way is gone.
I think respectfully, you are reaching for a reason that a bad thing wasn't really bad.
I am not reaching. I am not reaching at all. People who yell and scream about it, and we know about like Steve Smith. We know about other people. You got to give me the ball. You got to give me the ball. And then their family. I mean, you've talked about families being too involved in players before, like the Ball brothers and all that kind of stuff. In this case, the family doing the same thing that a bunch of other people have done, to the point where you have to think about that when you're out there, whether it's your friend or not. And I don't know if they were friends, but you've got to think about that. If I don't throw the ball to him, we're going to hear all this noise. And if I do throw the ball to the guy who came here with me, who I have comfort with, then I didn't throw it to him. So his family's going to make a big deal about it. And if the family's noise is loud enough that it makes the news and people are talking about it, then it's too loud.
Jaheim Bell, who is the guy you're talking about here. Jaheim Bell
said that, but
Jaheim Bell's family did not chirp until after Halloween. That is after the Gamecocks lost 23-10 to Missouri and he got 0 targets. And I would go one step further.
So you absolutely believe that they weren't saying anything. It's just now people started listening.
Number one, okay, then let me rephrase it. The chirps didn't become newsworthy until after the Missouri game. That's part one. Part number two, if the chirps of a tight end's family are rattling your quarterback, you got a boat quarterback. All right. If a teammate's family members in the news are getting into the head of a quarterback, you got a crap quarterback. I think we saw at the end of the year that Spencer Rattler is not a crap quarterback. I'm not saying hand him the Heisman, but I'm saying he's not a crap quarterback. Number three, if that is the case and the head coach is not going, you know what, Jaheim, why don't you just stay in the locker room on Saturday? All right. Hurting our team, then you got a crap head coach. I don't think either of us believes that friend of the show, Shane Beamer, is a crap head coach. And number four, and here's the part you don't like. And this is something that you and I aren't going to reach an agreement about until midway through this upcoming season. Jaheim Bell was an 8'12", 350-pound, 3.840 tight end. I'm exaggerating a bit, but not much. Jaheim Bell is, and again,
I just want to say that would make him 9 foot, 8'12". That's
the joke.
Okay, all right.
Jaheim Bell is going to do one of two things this season. And again, it's not even worth getting into the argument of right now because we won't know until it happens. Jaheim Bell is going to do one of two things in Tallahassee. He's either going to be an absolute freak in Mike Norvell's offense, and then it's going to be fair to look and go, why weren't we utilizing that guy? Or he's going to do in Florida State what he did in South Carolina. He's going to be out there. He's going to get couple of balls a game. He's going to get 350, 400 yards receiving over the course of the season. And you're going to get to come in here and go, see, I told you so. One of us is going to be saying, I told you so by week 7 of this season.
I just want to point something out, and you're not going to believe me because obviously I'm very dishonest. I hope you're right and I'm wrong for the kids' sake. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that he is that good. I hope his family is quiet, and I hope he has success in Florida State. I do. I want you to be able to come in here and say, see, Lonzo, you're wrong again, which, you know, I've been there quite often, so I know how that feels. But I'm not wishing ill on someone. I hope he does better. But I do believe everything I just said, and I think he's overrated. And I think not only will he not have as good of a season in Florida State, that he'll transfer again.
We're going to find out. But the answer to that question, you guys are going to have to respond to. If Jaheim Bell does what I think he's going to do and blow up at FSU, I mean, kill it at FSU, then you guys are going to have to ask the question, did Shane not see it? Did Satterfield talk Shane out of using him more? Like, what happened? And I think that's a fair question. If he doesn't, then no problem. You're going to go, okay, Shane was right. Sat was right.
Well, Hudson is bringing up a good point. He is going from the SEC to the ACC. So if he can't succeed there, then he's definitely got a problem.
That's a fair.
The ACC has one football team, and that's the Clemson Tigers.
That is not fair, but we'll circle back around to that because we've got to take a break. Gamecock fans, I want your thoughts. I got some more audio from Shane Beamer we're going to get to. I did not intend to talk that long about the tight ends, but that's what I walked away from the spring game. There is a new massive variable in the South Carolina offense under Dow Loggins. Will it translate to regular season success? Your thoughts are welcome. Text us 71307. Start your text with FAN FAM. We'll read them on the air. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Let me address the stream really quick. All right. Rob said before he played the audio that the audio was in a press conference. A press conference should not be a problem to play.
Yeah, I don't think it will.
On stream. That's why I played it on stream. So that was me on purpose. I had it out of utility, which is how it goes on, until he said he got it from a press conference, and then I put it back in because anyone of us can get audio from a press conference.
Trey, the spring games for both Clemson and South Carolina are indeed on ESPN Plus. If you do not have,
I forgot to check Plus.
The highlights are available on YouTube. Just search Clemson 23 spring game or Carolina 23 spring game, and there are multiple channels that have the highlights of both. If you want to check those out.
Also, I appreciate you guys' helps, but sometimes if everybody's saying, hey, and Rob didn't know that I did it either because the executive in my position means that I make decisions sometimes on the fly, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it. So, sorry. Did I make the wrong decision, Rob? You've
never made a wrong decision in your life.
No. I've made probably 10 today already. So,
you did agree to work with me, so that's one.
we both know that wasn't a choice, but I am so glad I'm here. But yeah.
Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at repairclinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com. Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORk.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go, so I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partner with Beacon. With the new Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got friends I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. It's like having my Beacon up in my pocket 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through June, purchase through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
There's your cat. Better not get a seatbelt for this one. I saw my passport expired, so I just got a passport.
No. I appreciate all your guys' help. I mean, especially when one of us, usually not me, forgets to unmute or we forget to push the thing. Yeah.
I thought about you over the weekend because one of the government agencies in like Arizona or something is starting to make drones.
Dead birds.
To fly.
Talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty freaky if you look at it.
Really funny.
They haven't reached the point where they look real yet.
Yeah, but they're on the way.
Yeah.
They did make them where they can move the tail feather up and down, which is kind of funny. The Rob Brown Show wrapping up hour number one. Texter says, Fan, you're not talking about Austin Stogner, right? No, we were talking about Jaheim Bell, who is now in Tallahassee, Florida. Stogner, if Jaheim Bell was underutilized, So was Austin Stogner. That's why Austin Stogner left. That is why I assume Austin Stogner left. Because Stogner came there with Spence to be the guy at tight end. And both he and Jaheim Bell were both underutilized. And I think Stogner was like, all right, well, I'll go back to Oklahoma, a team that is going to be heavily using tight ends because that's Oklahoma ball. So I'd be interested to follow his career this season. Texter said Lenore Sellers is going to be a hell of a good quarterback. Again, it's spring. Lenore Sellers was going up against backup defenders, but he looked good. I'll tell you what play kind of blew me away. It was either late third or early fourth quarter. There was the snap when he was not ready, went up over his head. Sellers turned, ran it down, scooped it up with one hand off the bounce, which is, if you've never tried it, an uber difficult thing to do with a football. With a fully inflated football, to snag it off the bounce one-handed.
Are you grabbing that football because you're going to try it during the break?
I thought about it. We might run a little scramble drill here during the break.
I think you got to realize it's probably a bad move.
I'm going to break something.
Yes.
He picked it up with two or three defenders in his face, rolled out offhand, and then threw a beauty of a ball down the sideline. Now, it was not completed in bounds. Receiver went up, just couldn't get the toe tap down, but completed on the run after picking up a bounce ball with multiple defenders in his face, a beautiful little float pass down the sideline. I was like, oh. Sellers also had 2 or 3 times where he looked like he was dead to rights in the pocket. And keep in mind, in a spring game where effectively it's tag football on the quarterback, right? You get a hand on him, he's down. They took a Spencer Rattler rushing touchdown off the board on the first drive because of that. There were a couple of spots where Lenore Sellers looked dead to rights and came out of the pocket like, how did he get away with that? The comparison that I have for Lenore Sellers right now is baby Russ Wilson. I'm talking NC State Russ Wilson. I'm talking young Russ Wilson. I'm talking rookie, sophomore, junior year in the league Russ Wilson. When Russ Wilson, because he's a smaller quarterback, had to rely on his mobility, his agility, and just flat being slippery out of the pocket to survive and thrive, that's what Lenore Sellers look like. Now, it is easy for us as fans to see a cat in the spring game, first time in action, doesn't even have the Block C logo on the helmet yet, and go, that's it, Heisman, All-American, game changer, right? We got our guy. It's the spring game. Pump the brakes just a little bit. Here's what I will say. 2 days ago, or I should say 3 days ago, I think we all thought the QB depth chart was going to be 1 Rattler, 2 Doty, probably 3 Sellers. Because I think you want to redshirt Lenore Sellers if you can, right? Give him that extra year. I'm going to tell you right now, knock on wood, it doesn't. But should the worst happen and Spencer Rattler be lost at some point during the season, I'm going to Lenore Sellers if I'm in contention for anything, right? If I'm in contention for a 10-win season or better, I love Luke Doty. I respect the boat out of Luke Doty. But if I'm in contention for a 10-win season or better in Columbia, Lenore Sellers is getting the call to be the backup, even if I've got to burn a red shirt to do it. Back after this for hour number 2, Clemson spring game analysis. When we come back on the Rob Brown Show, this is the Fan Upstate.
So I was just tweeted that, and any ACC player could pancake me. And I said, yes, but I am 54 and a grandpa. So I don't know if they brag about that. Now, back in the day, I might have had a shot.
That's the best I can whistle.
Thank goodness. I hate whistling.
So here's a radio guy question for you that I got into a discussion about over the weekend. More and more car manufacturers are not including AM radio capabilities in their vehicle. Good idea, bad idea.
Not allowing what in their vehicle? I'm sorry.
AM radio capabilities. Can't pick up AM signals in new cars.
Well, because no one really listens to AM that much anymore, unless they're AM enthusiasts.
Yep.
I forget what they're called, but that may actually be what they're called. But AM will always exist in some way, so we'll have a way to communicate during an apocalypse. I mean,
the inevitable apocalypse.
Because when artificial intelligence takes over, they're going to discount AM, going, no one listens to that, so they're just going to take over the FM signal. I haven't listened to it, but I saw a bunch of tweets about an AI generated song from The Weeknd and from Drake.
Saw that.
And haven't listened to it yet. Have you listened to it?
I have not.
A lot of people said they're worried.
But I've talked to a couple people who have that told me, had they not already known that it was AI, that it got fooled.
Well, maybe those two guys actually collaborated and they're pretending like it's an AI song. Because you know what that would do if they did do that? It would generate, not like either one of those guys need it, but it would generate even more stuff. Now you got to wonder, are Drake and The Weeknd actually people, or are they robots? That one Drake video, only a robot could do that thing. Got a clear sky outside right now. We'll see when chemtrails show up.
We did on Bet for the Cycle Saturday, our first bet. So we decided this year to determine who gets bet punished. We're doing production versus talent parlay bets, 3-leg parlays every week. You pick 3 legs. If both teams hit their 3-leg parlay, whichever team had the longer odds to hit is the winner. I did not mention it. We get there, and Mario goes, what's the first punishment? And Decker goes, I've seen Rob talk about it too much. Scoop a ranch ice cream to the loser. Well, we both missed our parlay by 1 leg this week. So now it is scoop of ranch ice cream. Social media vote determines what topping goes on top of it.
No, see, that's unfair. That's unfair because you're going to deaden the taste.
See, that was
with
my
something else. I would.
But then my thought was, I don't know how you do worse than chocolate syrup and ranch ice cream.
Yeah, the chocolate would take away from.
See, I think it'd just be a combination.
No. I think that's a way out of the true flavor.
So should we instead go 2 scoops of ranch? You got to finish 2 full scoops of it.
That would be possibly death. But I mean,
Kevin can't use any food transportation items. You just got to go straight to the ice cream.
I think to get the true effect of the ranch ice cream, it's got to be straight up. So someone there, unless you brought that up, someone thinks that the ranch ice cream alone is not enough. You have smelled the ice cream. You will taste it for days. So it just sounds like a way to try to deaden the pain that it will cause. By the way, checked out the Walmart freezer this weekend. They had a bunch more back. Yes. Well, ain't too many people dumb enough to buy it like me. So, I mean, but I only bought it because I knew it would be bad. A QC in the first break. But, it's a different show. I definitely would protest if you wanted to put something on it. It could be. Did you see the RoboCop at Comic-Con, Trey? Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Kevin, it's horrible. Horrible.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts now. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and the great one Lonzo with you on a beautiful upstate Monday morning. For those of you listening on the Odyssey app, outside of the market, internationally, by the way, we've gotten emails from listeners in Germany. We have gotten emails from listeners in London. We have gotten one email from a listener as far away as Japan at one point. We welcome you to the broadcast. Don't forget that if you would like to listen to every minute of the Rob Brown Show and all of the stellar broadcasting across the entire Fan Upstate lineup, you can do it by putting the Odyssey app, AUDACY, on your digital devices, or by telling your smart speaker, Alexa, Siri, Google, computer, whoever you talk to, play 97 The Fan Upstate, and she will play it for you, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Bet for the Cycle started on Saturday. That is the best damn baseball talk show in all the land.
You know, it's weird. We talked about it on the stream, and now there it is on my Twitter feed. Wasn't there before. Just say it. Go ahead.
I'm not in charge. Glad the algorithm works, though. Bet for the Cycle is the best baseball talk show in America. It is hosted by former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker, by yours truly, The Rob Brown Show, and produced by Hate Ass Mario. On Saturday, we decided that this year we would be doing our Parlay v. Parlay contest. Cody Decker and I build a 3-leg parlay. We pick one game that starts at the beginning of the show so that we can track the parlay while we're on the air. Our Parlay v. Parlay contest places me and Cody Decker picking a 3-leg parlay from one game against Hate Ass Mario in the production team picking their 3-leg parlay. This week, we went with Yankees v. Oh, God, who are they playing? The Orioles? Doesn't matter. No, Yankees v. Twins. That's who it was. So we went Yankees, Twins. Cody and I missed our parlay by a half a strikeout. All right. I picked a 5.5 over strikeout for the Twins. They did not get it. When we were listing the bet punishments on the air, I said nothing. Cody Decker said to start the radio broadcast. Cody Decker said, I have heard Rob talking about it. I have seen Rob tweeting about it. The loser of parlay numero uno must eat a spoonful of Hidden Valley Ranch flavored ice cream. Now, here's the question. It's a question I gave to Lonzo during the break. I will give it to you now. Neither the production nor the talent hit their parlay, which means that the bet punishment must increase for week number 2, and it will continue to increase until one of us wins the parlay contest. By the way, if both, because one of you just asked, if both teams hit their parlay, the parlay with the longer odds will be declared the winner. So my question to you as fans, and you can text your answer to 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. How do we increase the badness of the ranch ice cream bet punishment? Option number 1 is that we add a topping to the ranch ice cream. And we left it up to social media what that topping would be. Chocolate syrup, caramel, peanut butter, sprinkles, your choice.
What was that C word?
Caramel? 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 How do you say it? You say caramel?
I think you just got some turrets.
It's caramel.
Welcome to that's
How
not
do you say
that,
it?
that's you said caramel.
Caramel.
You did. I think you just received your turrets. Welcome to South Carolina.
Caramel. How do you say it?
Caramel, or
Caramel.
or if I was in growing up with you, it would be caramel. Because that's
I literally just didn't say it.
There's
that
a
way.
1%ers call it caramel.
Caramel.
It still sounds Southern when you say it.
I that's how I say it. I don't know what you want me to say. It's caramel on ice cream.
No, you're saying it right sometimes.
Twix is chocolate, cookie, and caramel.
Just said Twix.
Anyway,
You might as well fully embrace it. I mean,
so we left it up to social media to add a topping to the ranch ice cream: chocolate fudge, caramel syrup, peanut butter, sprinkles. We did have one texter to the show who said the only way he could think to improve a scoop of ranch ice cream, Lonzo, would that we had to add the topping of ranch dressing to it. I want to fist fight that guy.
Oh no,
right.
no. Because I'm the only person in this room, I'm not the only person that who actually tried it. I don't think it needs any topping. I really don't. And I'm not doing that thing where I'm trying to color something in a way to make it sound worse than it is. It's that bad. It really is that bad. It's I wouldn't say it's indescribable because I just did. It's bad. It's very bad.
So the second option to make the bet punishment worse for either Cody Decker and I or Hayden S. Mario and the entire production crew is we add a second scoop of ranch ice cream to it.
That would be worse.
Would it be worse?
It would be worse. We took a spoonful.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just, no, it was a small scoop. So we all took the first bite and went, that's not that bad. And took the second bite, and it was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that first bite's not going to get you. The second bite will.
We went one scoop, and the rule is the scoop has to be made on the air and justified, right? You have to show the scoop to the opponents so that they can say, we accept that as your scoop.
So do you have to use a legitimate scooper, an ice cream scooper?
It's an ice cream scooper.
Okay.
And it has to be a scoop, right? So what would be worse? Adding chocolate syrup, caramel syrup, sprinkles, peanut butter, let me cap it by saying, because of the psychos on the stream who said Texas Pete or Vegemite or more ranch, etc. A traditional ice cream topping, hot fudge, sprinkles, whatever, whipped cream, a traditional ice cream topping, or do we just add a second scoop to the punishment? Keeping in mind that if we go this Saturday and nobody lands on a winner this Saturday, we then have to move it to the next Saturday after that, and the punishment increases. Does that mean we go to 3 scoops?
Oh, I'm adding scoops. I think that's the way to
Just
go.
scoop by scoop until there's a winner.
Yeah. Until I think you got to cap it at a pint. But yeah, because I think they only sell it in a pint.
Oh, that's not the big one. That's
no, that's a half gallon's what you're thinking of. The pint's just the little round thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That seems horrifying.
For me, for sure, because I'm the only one who really knows the horror. You've only smelt it. I actually ate some.
Puke from the smell.
Hey, it's still down there to remind you.
Nope.
We should go down again today and see if it's still.
It's got to
in
be
there.
rank by now. It's been there for a month and a half.
I know.
Oh, Lonzo, you psychopath.
Can ice cream get mold on it? I think it just gets that.
I don't know. Why don't you go downstairs and find out, you terrible person?
I don't know if I'd be able to tell.
That's true. All right, let's do this. We're going to come to Clemson spring game next. I don't want to shortchange you on the topic. So instead, let me get this story in. Will you grab me, Lonzo, clip number 3? I have been using so far this baseball season the Oakland Athletics as my motto for the phrase, it could always be worse. The Oakland Athletics have a roster of players that are combined being paid less money than like 3 or 4 individual players on other teams. They have an entire roster of players being paid less than just the outfield of 2 or 3 different major league teams. I have told you that on opening day at the Coliseum, the Oakland Athletics had fewer fans than 11 minor league teams did on their opening day. By the way, the Greenville Drive drew just over 6,000 people to their home opener last Tuesday. The Oakland Athletics, for their opener, had fewer than 4,000 people. So I think it's fair to say that the Oakland Athletics are a trash heap of a franchise right now. You know who, or should I say, what else thinks the A's are a trash heap? Well, go ahead and listen in to a broadcast from the Oakland Coliseum from last Saturday. This on the call is Gary Cohen and Ron Darling. They are the television play-by-play crew for the SNY broadcast of New York Mets games. The Mets were at the Oakland Athletics, and this is what they had to say less than 2 innings into the ballgame. It gets better. Where the food is. Have you ever heard the expression possum leavings?
I have not. I will say this hits close to home literally for me right now. No, you don't know this. At 4:04 a.m. this morning, we were awakened by a sound. Don't know what it was. But I do believe, because I've heard this sound a couple of times, I think we have something living under our house, and I believe it's probably a possum. And there's nothing like being awakened at 4 a.m. and going, what the heck was that? And getting up to the point where I'm willing to almost go out into the woods to see what it is. Almost. Opened up the door and looked out because I'm looking to see if trees fell. But I've heard this noise before while I'm in my game room, which is on the same side of the house. I believe we have a possum. I'm not going under there to check. So I'm going to have to get an exterminator to come out to take care of said possum. If it's as elusive as that possum, then I may have a problem.
First off, that possum has been in the walls of the artist formerly known as the Oakland County Coliseum for at least 9 months now. Because this, I'm assuming, same possum was making the cycles last year.
Hey, they get fat, man. So I'm surprised that wherever it's getting its food from, it's staying there because there's food. That it's not gotten so fat that it can't, hide in the walls.
It's got its ways. Second off, Gary Cohen and Rob Darling are announcers. They're play-by-play guys. One of the things that you do in this job is you have to, unless you are a hometown guy calling the hometown broadcast, you have to abandon the accent, right? You can't come down here and call Greenville Drive games talking like this. You know what I'm saying? And you can't go up and call Mets games talking like this, right? You have to abandon the accent. I am stunned that Cohen and Darling, a pair of Northeastern guys calling a Northeastern game in the Northeast, weren't going, yo, there's a damn possum in the walls. We done got the Terminator out here. They can't catch the dadgum thing. Third.
Your Southern sounds like Todd Chrisley, I think it is.
Ouch.
Well, Chrisley knows best.
Ouch. Of all the insults you have hurled my way, that might take the cake.
I'm just saying. It has an air to that.
Ouch. Third. How long? And for the record, I've had squirrels in places I've lived. I've had mice in places I've lived. I can say, fortunately, to this point, I have yet to experience a possum in my place of residence. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do have to wonder how many days, weeks, or months does it take of the possum, as Gary Cohen said, doing his business, before the stench becomes not apparent, but so rank that you literally sacrifice your house to it, right? Because these guys had the choice. You can go in there, deal with the little stench, and have the nice away team television broadcast booth. Now, again, because of my job, I have been in TV broadcast booths home and away at the NFL level, the NBA level, the MLB level. And I will tell you that I have been in the stringer booth for these as well, right? As a pampered 1%er like I am, I can tell you the difference is stunning between the stringer booth, where you just there's a third party calling your game, or you got one or too many reporters and you need an office, you stick them in that booth, versus the away team broadcast booth, which usually has all the amenities. It may not be dressed up quite as nicely as the home team booth, but it's got all the amenities. It's got a big wide open window for you so you're not obstructed, etc. I cannot imagine what the stench in that booth must have been for Gary Cohen to go, nah, put me in the crap box. Put me in the small box. Make me literally go back and forth looking around a pole, because I would rather get my yoga in than breathe that air.
I have to say, as someone who's lived half my life in the city, the other half in the woods, I still I'm afraid of possums. If you've seen their claws, dude, it's like Wolverine. I mean, the claws are huge. And when I first moved down here, I threw a 2x4 at one, hit it on my deck, and it just turned around and looked at me, and I'm like, nope. That's it. I hit my guy with the 2x4, and he just looked at me. I don't want any part of whatever that is. I think there are a lot of people who are afraid of possum. Would you tangle with a possum?
No.
Have you seen one up
No.
close and personal?
But for
Because
the
you don't
record-
want to, trust me.
No, I've seen them. I will leave a possum alone for a few reasons. Number one,
Has a possum ever made eye contact with you and said,
Yes.
basically, come on?
I don't know that I've ever been threatened by one. Here's what I can tell you. They're actually very good for the environment. They are big controllers of pests. They do not carry rabies, so you're not in immediate danger outside of just getting jacked up. They're really good to have around, maybe not in your broadcast booth. Not a great look. Oakland, not a great look. Let's take a break. When we come back, let us get to some Clemson spring game coverage. We've got some bites from Dabo's post-game presser. I'll roll for you, give you some of the thoughts of what jumped out to me after the spring game and more. Texture said it's caramel, weirdos, LOL, not a 1%er sauce. I don't think caramel is for 1%ers.
Listen, I didn't do this to get in your head, but
You did.
but you absolutely, I mean, you've got some words that you say different. I mean, but this was straight up Southern. It was.
Y'all, the show that is the caramel of toppings is the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, got a live read right here. Stay right there. We will be right back. Well, I mean, there's no
No,
way I
you're
can put
moving
it
right
that's
into
gonna be
it.
perfect.
I mean,
I can either put it under the TV or I can put it there.
under the TV might be the best spot.
Hang on one second, guys. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Let's talk a little Clemson ball, shall we? And let us begin by what stood out to me the most. Let us start with the young guys, the young cats. It was the noobs and the second-year guys that stood out the most. Start, if you don't mind, with clip 5B, please, Lonzo. This is Dabo Swinney talking about the young guys that put on a show in the spring game for the Tigers on Saturday.
I mean, those guys, it's a really good class. Although, again, TJ Parker, Burley, you saw Steph Island, and Peter, those guys, all four have been really good additions. And they've also really benefited. I mean, there's no Rook, there's no Peyton Page. Kate Part had to miss some. Trey Williams is out. And, every one of those guys I just mentioned is going to play on Sunday one day. Every one of them. And so they've been out. And so it's really allowed those guys to kind of speed their process up. That's been a real plus for them. And they took full advantage of it. And that's what you want to see guys do. Jamal and D. Jamal made a play today, and D's had a great spring. And then there's young DBs. Shelton Lewis has shown up, been consistent all spring long. Khalil, same thing. What you saw today is kind of who he's been all spring. And then not just those guys, but the guys that were here last year. A guy like Kylan Griffin, who we were able to redshirt. TJ Dudley. I mean, we've just got a Colin Sadler, a guy that was able to redshirt. Those guys are making a jump. But those mid-years have been exceptional. Noble, it's been moving really fast for him, but he's gotten better and better and better. And this was huge for him to get out here in this environment and just realize, okay, it's still just football, and just a couple mistakes, but he made some strides. And Harris Sewell, what he's been all spring camp has been awesome. I mean, just keep going. I mean, all of those guys, I'm not disappointed with anybody. Josh Sapp, a guy we were able to redshirt, who's really going to help our team. So it's really across the board. I think last year's class that we signed, the Klubnik class, and this class that just came in here, this is top to bottom. I think two real complete groups. So I'm excited about what we got a chance to do with them.
Young guys stepping up, young guys playing, but it wasn't just that they had the X's and O's. I saw absolute panic. In fact, I saw a Twitter post directed from a Clemson fan to the Fan Upstate page on Saturday evening that said something to the tune, and I'll see if I can go back and find it, but it said something to the tune of, I am a Clemson fan, and we're on the downslide, and I recognize that. We're on the downslide. There's a problem, and there's a lot to it, right? For instance, one of the things that we will get to probably when we get a little bit closer to the next cycle of recruiting discussion is that South Carolina, with the signing of Josiah last week, has jumped Clemson in the 24/7 composite 2024 recruiting rankings. Now, just so we're clear, they have not only jumped Clemson, as of today, they've jumped Alabama as well. Now, we're a long way from February of 2024, right? There is a lot that could change between here and there. But as it stands right now, for the 2024 cycle, South Carolina has, according to 24/7, jumped up over South Carolina and Alabama. Right now, Georgia has the best class in the country, followed by Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, Notre Dame, Florida, Florida State, Penn State, Tennessee, Oregon, number 11, South Carolina. Now, how do I know these ratings are going to change? Because behind South Carolina at number 12 is Wake Forest. Number 13, North Carolina. Number 14, Alabama. You're not convincing me that when next February rolls around, Nick Saban's getting out-recruited by Wake Forest. But further you are ahead in the race when it starts, the better chance you have of finishing ahead when it ends. They got Alabama 14, Pitt 15, Texas Tech 15, and Clemson at 17. There's a tie between Pitt and Texas Tech in the composite score. So either way, Clemson 17, ahead of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, rounding out the top 20. Again, you're not convincing me that Dabo and Nick are getting out recruited by North Carolina and Wake Forest. But where you are right now is a head start as we move to 10 months from now when the next National Signing Day rolls around. So to me, the question mark, and I think a fair one, is what is the mentality of this football team? What is the mentality of this Clemson Tiger football team, right? You missed the playoffs last year, a year where a lot of those who talk into microphones for a living, myself included, predicted Clemson as a playoff team, right? The ACC was, regardless of how you feel about them, down last year. I'm not going to argue that they weren't. So in a year where the conference was down, Clemson fell short of a playoff. And why did they fall short of a playoff when they had it in hand going into the final week of the regular season? 31-30. Now, I'm not going to do what some people have done and go, what a demoralizing loss. What a program-breaking loss. It wasn't. You lost to a South Carolina team that had some talent, was on the upswing. The question mark is, can you come back?
You lost to your rival. I don't know that it's demoralizing, but what it does do is give some of us peace for a year, which is great. Clemson, I think people think I'm being sarcastic when I say Clemson is the ACC, because I think they are. And you said a down year. How can I tell it was a down year?
By watching the ACC. It was a down year for the conference.
It just looked like the ACC to me.
No, listen, I get it's.
I know you think that I'm doing that thing where I'm cracking, but when is the ACC going to be relevant other than Clemson? So it's always going to look down to me till there's that team that rises up and competes with the top of the heap there. And then suddenly other teams go, oh, they're doing it, I'm going to do it too. And then it's a good conference. But it hasn't been for a long. And I do remember when it was a pretty good conference. Back in the day when Florida State was dominant. Back in the day when Miami was dominant. There have been times. But even when they were dominant, there were other teams that were there with them. Clemson doesn't have that right now.
Again, I didn't argue they did. I'm going to argue they will this year, because I absolutely do think that there is a threat. I am not guaranteeing anything, but I think there is a threat from Florida State this year. I think there's
I hope you're right.
From Miami this year.
I hope you're right, because I want Clemson to lose every single game, but I'm also realistic enough to know that that's not going to be the case. they have been in an elite program, whether that fan is right and they're on the downslide or not. Maybe it's just because they lost to South Carolina and that really hurts them. And as a fan, and I get that, or maybe they're where they've been all along. How many games have they lost in the last couple of years? What, like 2 or 3?
Less than a handful.
All combined? That's still a really good program.
I agree with you. Clemson is the standard bearer, right? They are the flag carrying machine for the ACC. I think this year is going to be very interesting. And I think this year is going to be a year that determines, okay, is Clemson going to remain the banner carrier for another 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years? Or has Dabo let the program get stale and will there be a changing of the guard? I don't know. But what I do know is this. We're going to talk X's and O's and players, specifically young ones who jumped up, coming up here in just a minute. But let me grab you clip number, where is it? Let me grab you clip number 5D, if you don't mind. Dabo talked about the level of aggression he wanted to see out of this team. He talked about the mentality of the team. He talked about the fact that this team knows to some degree they're going to have to lean on underclassmen. By the way, he said these last 2 classes are 2 of the better back-to-back classes he's put together since he got here, since he got hired as the head coach. And then he talked about the mentality of this team. And this is what I was curious about. After that L to South Carolina that bumped Clemson from the playoffs last year, would they be able to take the mentality that hit them at the end of last year, get rid of it, reverse it, and come into this year looking like they were thirsty? And here's what Dabo had to say.
Well, I mean, that's just college football. I mean, you have turnover every year, and that's why, it's so important that you recruit well and not just, you're not just getting talented players, but you're getting the right players and guys that fit your culture, guys that are going to be guys that love football. I mean, I think that's the one thing. These guys love football. The one thing about this class that we just signed, it's probably the closest signing class that maybe we brought in. And when I say close, I'm talking about these guys were truly a group chat, all that stuff all year. I mean, just unbelievably close group. And I've seen that just carry into, everything they've done this spring. They're about their business. These guys came here to win a national championship. I mean, that's just, and I love that about them. They have high goals. They believe in themselves. They're really talented. They all have good self-awareness and know that they have a lot of work to do. They're eager to be coached. They're incredibly coachable, and that they really do listen. I mean, they've responded in all the areas of the program. So when you have a group that's talented like that, that's really just full of energy and bought in, because there's strength in numbers, a lot of them. I mean, it's not like 3 guys showed up here. It's 15 guys. And these are high-level dudes, but they're high-level people. And, man, you can't help but grab some enthusiasm from that, and it's very contagious. So it's been fun.
He said, look, the young guys came in here and they have a really hungry mentality, but it's not the mentality of, and for the record, I don't expect anything different out of a group of Dabo recruits. But he said they came in and there's not a cockiness to them. There's a confidence to them. And that, more importantly, and this can happen, right? You get a highly touted group of young guys coming in and they've been heavily recruited. What is recruiting? It's butt kissing to get you to come to my school. So a lot of recruits are going to walk on campus with a little bit of an air of an attitude. And why wouldn't they, right? Your school spends tens of thousands of dollars convincing them that you're the man now, dog, as Sean Connery once said. So when they show up on campus, they feel like they're the man. And that can create some division between they and the older guys. But Dabo said that's not the case, right? They came in confident. They came in hungry, and that the old guys are responding to that in a positive way. They are responding to that in a way that is helping. One of the guys that stood out this weekend is Dominic Thomas. They call him, Lonzo, Quadzilla, because he's
how big your quads, to make you Quadzilla? it's got to have some pretty big quads
He
to get that.
goes 5'8", 215. Now, 215 doesn't sound like a whole lot, but 215 at 5'8" and all muscle is built. It's from Ohatchee, Alabama. Will Shipley was out this weekend, right? A lot of guys out for Clemson. Dabo said the majority of them were just lingering stuff, right? There were some guys who are putting the finishing touches on rehab from the end of the regular season last year. He said if we moved the spring game back, 2-3 weeks, we probably would have had everybody back. But, you don't want to risk it for a spring game. So Shipley's out. In steps Dominique. And what did he do? How about Dominique Thomas going 63 and a touch on 14 carries against the number ones, right? And that's not full game service. That's most first half, and that's it. So looks like he could have gone, buck 30 and 2 touches had he played a full game. It's exactly what I'm looking for. It is the type of guys that attack this spring game like it is the regular season. Spring games can be fun, right? First time you get to go out there, you're playing against your boys. Shane said that they had a hat made for the winning team of the Garnet Black team, and only the winning team was getting that cap. That's bragging rights over your boys, right? But I want you to come out there and show me you have a mastery of the offense and you're taking it like a real game. And he did exactly that. Quadzilla, about whom CJ Spiller said, quote, I've never seen bigger quadriceps. He was an NFL player, by the way. Stepped up in a spot where there was an old guy who was unable to go, and Will Shipley, who will be back. They held him out as a precaution and dominated. But it was the young guys who did it too. Peter Woods specifically. Peter Woods wreaked havoc in that game. Absolutely destroyed it. To the point that Dabo singled him out by name and referred to him as Halley's Comet. Why? Because he's, quote, very rare, end quote. Khalil Barnes did the same thing. Intercepted a pass on the left sideline, brought it 22 back for a touch. That was big. Young guys are filling gaps, and usually that's going to make a coach nervous. These guys filled the gaps and played nearly mistake-free football in the spring game. Clean game. Don't play sloppy. Not a lot of penalties, especially when they're being looked at. Clemson's going to be able to rely on the young guys this year, and I love it. As we continue the show, I got a little bit more sound from both Shane and Dabo we'll get to, but we got some other stuff that we've got to get into. What do you say we talk more CJ Bryce, but we keep it on the field? Let's talk tail of the tape between the potential two first picks.
Bryce. Oh, CJ/Bryce.
Yeah, CJ/Bryce.
Okay.
Yeah, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. One of those guys is going to be a Panther. I know who it's going to be. Well, let's look tail of the tape, see how you feel about it. And another hilarious yet dumb baseball story. All of that coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Are you taking a break?
Yes,
All
I'm
right.
going to.
Be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Television mergers are happening more and more frequently. And one of the most recent ones was when Warner Brothers and Discovery completed their merger earlier this week. One of the stations that impacted was TNT. TNT, of course, is the primary home of playoff basketball. Yesterday evening, Rob Brown was sitting on the couch in the PJs watching a little playoff basketball while he show prepped for today's show. And while I was watching TNT, watching the NBA playoffs, prepping for today's show, some commercials started running. Happens during a basketball game. And one of these shows, which had commercials running during the NBA playoffs, Alonzo, made me damn near have to turn off the NBA on TNT. Now, when Rob Brown was a younger man, much like the majority of us, Rob Brown had to deal with zits, pimples, blackheads. We all had to do it.
Acne.
That is correct. And every now and then you get one of them big old honking zits on the face that you gotta pop, right? I'd rather have the red spot than a big old disgusting whitehead right there on the tip of my nose. I'll tell you what I don't love is seeing literally anyone else pop a zit. I don't know why. I've done it 100 times on my own grill, but watching somebody else do it is gross.
Well, so it was the doctor on there, and he's
and hence Rob almost had to turn off the NBA on TNT because they were running not just repeated, but graphic commercials for a show on the Discovery Channel called Dr. Pimple Popper.
If you don't know what it is, ask your mom or your wife.
Because one of them watches it.
Yes, because it's females seem to really love that show.
Courtney
Yes.
loves it. And I'll never understand, because here's the thing. If it was a show about popping zits, you know, the little ones on your nose that you just use 2 fingers and you do it and it's popped and then you rub some alcohol on it and you're done and you're cleaned up. That's one thing. This lady is popping zits the size of my fist.
Yeah, and the problem I have with it is
it's horrific.
Well, other than that, my wife won't watch a horror film. Well, that's just gross. So, okay.
How is this not any worse?
I'd rather watch Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers
Yes.
or Jason Voorhees any day. Do what they do, because I know that's special effects. This pimple popping thing, that's real, and you like it. Why do you like it? Ugh.
Let me read you some tweets that came out from people talking about this. At NetW3RK, at network, but with a 3 instead of an O, said, quote, in a sentiment I could not agree with more. I pray that whoever okayed these Dr. Pimple Popper commercials rots forever in the blood oceans of hell.
Because commercials are played during shows that a demographic would appreciate it. So why is it playing during the NBA? Are more women watching the NBA now? I'm going
to tell you this. I was on the couch last night. I was watching the NBA. The fiance was 2 seats over from me with the dog in between us. And when that commercial runs, it was the only time that she looked up at the TV. And she's like, oh, I need to set the DVR. So it worked, right? And I get the strategy, right? Because even if you don't watch the NBA in the regular season, if you're a fringe basketball player, you're at least watching the playoffs. And if you're watching the playoffs and you're in the main room and you've got the woman friend in your life, there's a good chance she's watching with you. And that's the attention you're grabbing. Granted, it is targeted at a minority of the viewers, but it's one of 5 or 6 commercials during any given stop set. But I don't need fist-sized zits being popped in my face while I'm trying to watch Ja do Ja, man. At R. Callan said, quote, TNT becoming Warner Brothers Discovery is rock bottom for commercials during the playoffs. Get Dr. Pimple Popper the hell out of here. Marcus Spears said, please don't run that Dr. Pimple Popper commercial no more tonight. At Karen Abkarians said, it is wild that Dr. Pimple Popper got more playing time than Thomas Bryant tonight. Correct take. At J Ram said, please outlaw Dr. Pimple Popper commercials in the new CBA, correct? At Damn J What You Say said, quote, I will sue you for showing that Dr. Pimple Popper commercial while I was eating dinner at NBA on TNT. Y'all, I don't know who made that call. I have never wanted to put someone on an iceberg and float them out into Lake Superior quite as much as I did when I got attacked, ambushed, and assaulted by Dr. Pimple Popper. You jackasses, stop. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show's next on the Fan Upstate. Bye. Right, that guy's got to record a commercial.
I'm still here though, so you guys will be entertained because, you know, or maybe we won't be. I don't know. No, I can handle the carnage that is like Braveheart, but I cannot watch the Pimple Popper thing. It's just, I don't understand how that's entertaining. I really don't get it.
Hey, it's DA. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Ask Alexa to play CBS Sports Radio. Calls issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank members of U.S. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/sports. That's ramp.com/sports to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/sports.
Hi, it's Irrigated back with Travis Benson, owner of CNT Foundations. Travis, what should homeowners with a foundation problem do? First, Gary, don't ignore it. Next, call us. Why call CNT Foundations? We're not an investor-driven sales organization. We are real general contractors. We are from here, and we know what works here. Call 864-581-3341. CNT Foundations, your foundation experts.
Did you get your wild sashimi tuna? Yes, sir. And the Charleston classics, bourbon salmon, and wild mastermind with mango salsa.
All in the bag.
At Ingles, our extensive seafood department offers a huge variety of local catch and flavors from around the world. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Every Friday.
My friends at the South Carolina Forestry Commission want your help in canceling wildfires.
Or at least the ones caused by humans, which are about 90% of all wildfires.
Negligent but avoidable behaviors like careless outdoor debris burning
Lax campfire safety and improper vehicle and equipment use.
are the leading causes of wildfires in South Carolina.
Please think before you burn outdoors and operate smart producing equipment. Let's cancel wildfires, South Carolina.
Sponsored by the South Carolina Forestry Commission and South Carolina Broadcasting Association.
The only thing that would have shocked me, Steven, would have been if Guitar Hero won. That would have been the shocker. Or maybe Borderlands, because I I'm not sure that belonged in the Elite Eight, but it made its way there. So I was really shocked that Batman went down early, but it has a lot to do with the group in the room too, I think. Okay, Rob, where are you? He's doing as instructed by the boss, by the way, Stephen. But it's taking way too long. Gable's in first break.
Gable's in the first break. Outstanding. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. This is the Fan Upstate. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing us to be a part of your morning every weekday from 9 to noon. I am Rob Brown, the great one. Lonzo sits on the other side of the metaphorical glass, my co-host and executive producer. We would love for you to be a part of the program. The Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line is open for you right now at 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. You can text us on the text line at 71307. 71307. That is the number. Text us and start that text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a couple of things that we've gotten into so far. Spring games eaten up most of the time so far because, hey, we got 150 something days until college football kicks off, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, pretty packed up about that. Pretty excited about college football getting here. Let me get a couple of clips from both teams. And I want to start with one that I think Lonzo is going to appreciate greatly. Clip 4A, if you don't mind. Shane Beamer was queried about the competitiveness of this spring game. I told you earlier, Shane and the program had hats made to commemorate the win for either Team Garnet or Team Black. And only the players on that team would get that hat to wear around the locker room as a badge of pride, more importantly, bragging rights. And they took it very seriously. How seriously, might you ask? They went to Lonzo-esque levels of planning and strategy to ensure the dub. Here's how Shane put it.
That's just who they are. Hats. We had hats on the line. We told them that it was going to be like a conference championship win or a bowl win. Whatever team won the game, we'd have a hat for them to put on the sideline after the game. So they were fighting for hats, but mainly just bragging rights. And these guys, they love to compete. They really do. And it was heated. I mean, there's been a lot of trash talk back and forth in the building for the last 2 days. Some of these guys were cold-blooded, in that draft on Thursday night. The whatever Hunter Rogers, whatever he was on, the Garnet Black team, whatever team Hunter Rogers was on. He talked the coaches. We only have 2 snappers in the program right now, long snappers, Hunter and Cole Rasmussen, and Hunter got selected as the snapper, and he talked his coach into drafting a second snapper so the other team would not have a long snapper in the game and couldn't kick field goals and couldn't punt, which I think is brilliant that he thought of that. And it was all in the name of winning the football games. And then it hit me like the next morning. Pete texted me that night about 10:30 and said, "You all are aware of this. The other team doesn't have a long snapper." So they literally were trying to teach some of our players to long snap yesterday morning. I'm like, guys, we're not doing that. I'm not going to send somebody out there on the field and snap for the first time ever on national television. So we made a trade so the other team could have a long snapper, but they wanted to win, and they went by all means necessary, and that was just one example of it.
So the assistant coach had to rat him out. They wouldn't have known until the next day. It would have worked. It absolutely would have worked. That was awesome. Come on, Shane.
So you had Hunter Rogers, a long snapper. The other long snapper available for this game was Cole Rasmussen. Hunter got drafted because I thought this was fun. I saw a short clip of it that aired during the spring game. To divvy up the teams at South Carolina, they quite literally had an NFL-style draft, up to and including Shane serving as the commissioner, standing at the podium, calling out the names as they were drafted. Yeah?
Because they have a lot of fun there. That's when we talked to them, when we had them on the air, they, with their social media, with everything they do, they have a lot of fun, and that ain't nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. So
you never see Will Muschamp do this. That's for sure.
They did a draft. Hunter Rogers, the long snapper, gets drafted. And he talks his coaching staff into drafting Cole Rasmussen as well, the only other long snapper. Not because he said, well, if I draft him here, I'll get all the snaps and I'll look good. No. If we draft the only other long snapper, their team won't have a long snapper. And therefore, they'll either have to teach a non-long snapper to long snap, A, or B, they'll just have to go for 2 and go for every 4th down because they can't kick field goals or punt. And they wouldn't have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those dang kids and their dastardly head coach. Shane went, no. I'm not going to send a non-long snapper out there and give him effectively a day and a half to learn to be a long snapper and then make his debut long snapping on national television. We ain't doing that. But it is not about the result. It is about the process sometimes. And as soon as I heard Shane tell the story that a long snapper convinced his coaching staff to draft the only other long snapper so that the other team did not have field goals and punts available, my brain went, Lonzo's going to be so proud. He's going to be so proud because this is A+ troll strategy. And I love it.
Oh, without a doubt, he is now my new favorite player.
Love that. Love that. Let me flip to the other side. Let me get a Clemson soundbite in here, Zoe. I am going to go here with clip 5, if you don't mind. I'm a big fan of good broadcast teams. I'm a big fan of guys and gals who very clearly put in the work. They get to know the teams that they are calling a game for. They get to know the tactics, the strategies. They ask the right questions of the coaches during their short sideline interviews. I'm a big fan of well put together television broadcast. And there was, during the Clemson football spring game on Saturday, a sideline reporter who very clearly put in the work. A sideline reporter that knew things about the team that he was reporting on that I don't think any other sideline reporter in the country could have possibly known about. This sideline reporter was talking tactics and strategy, but was also interviewing players on the sideline and doing some really interesting interviews. Here is that sideline reporter from Clemson's spring game. That, of course, was noted sideline reporter Dabo Swinney, roaming the sideline with a headset and a microphone. By the way, going old school, using the handheld mic, too. Like, he carried the handheld mic the whole game. I was impressed by that. Like, if it's me, I'm going with either the Britney Spears, Garth Brooks wraparound mic.
Listen. Dabo ain't messing his hair up. I mean, come on.
He had a hat on, man. He went baseball cap. He went old school.
Come on.
I am going in that situation. I am going Garth Brooks, Britney Spears, headpiece with the wraparound face mic in that, because are you making
sure you're getting one molded to you like they do?
Yeah.
So, and are you going flesh color? So it kind of disappears a little.
The next investment with the band, I've been saying for a couple of years now, the next investment for me with the band, because the last one was in-ear monitors. That was a game changer. But the next one is the Garth Brooks wraparound mic, right?
I've got one I could let you have, but I haven't pulled it out of the case in like 15 years. May not work anymore.
Might go that direction. Jokes aside, called this shot last week. I love this. I love it. I love it for a couple of reasons. I've told you guys, to the chagrin of many a Clemson fan over the years, and every time I've said it, I've also had to remind you, it is irrelevant. It is irrelevant. Most folks outside of the Clemson family have a certain kind of feeling about Dabo. They feel like he's hokey. They feel like he's a fraud. They feel like he's this, he's that. And as I've told you every single time, there are only two groups whose opinion of Dabo Swinney is relevant. The first group is the Clemson fans, and I really should even tighten that up and say the Clemson boosters. They are relevant. And recruits. Those are the only groups that are relevant when it comes to their opinion of one Dabo Swinney. So, here's my thought on that. Who cares? I think what Dabo did is brilliant. And here's why. I watched the South Carolina spring game. And they would talk to Shane every now and then. They had Roman Harper, buddy of mine, hashtag name drop. They had Roman Harper working as the color commenter. And they did it interesting, too. They had Roman actually doing color from down on the field, right? So he was calling color from literally on the field behind the quarterback. He was saying what he was seeing from a DB's perspective on the field. It was pretty interesting. It was entertaining. And
you mean the Pat McAfee method?
The Pat McAfee method.
Yes, because
well, no, when I say on the field, I mean literally on the field, like behind the quarterbacks, behind
I
the
got
DBs.
You. I got you. Something you can only do during the scrimmage, but yes.
Correct. And I thought it was interesting, right? They tried that on Monday Night Football with Booger McFarland a couple of years ago. They put him in the Boogermobile, and it sucked. But it didn't suck because it's a bad idea. It sucked because the Boogermobile was a bad idea, A. And B, with all due respect, Booger McFarland, great radio guy, not a great color commentator. All right? I know where you're going already.
I completely agree with you, but we got to do this. According to Ian Rappaport, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts agreed to terms on a 5-year, $255 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid player in NFL history.
And that's not even the important number. The important number, Zoe,
is one. What is that? 1,779,304 million in guarantees. Yes, and a no trade clause.
Yep. 255, 179.304 mil guaranteed, and a no trade clause.
Not bad for a guy just a couple of years ago, or saying, Jalen Hurts, is he the guy?
Yep.
Is this the guy?
Yep. And we will talk about that in a minute, because that put some added pressure on another football franchise. You probably already know who I'm going to go with here, but we'll come to that in a minute.
They also have birds in their thing. Yeah.
We'll come to that momentarily. Let me finish up this thought. I love the addition of coaches being involved in the broadcast. I love more that Dabo was on the mic during plays. I mean, he's breaking the plays down from his perspective. In fact, on the, first or second drive, Dabo was giving credit to his first team punter for the incredible spring that he had. And while he's doing it, the punter drops a snap inside the 5-yard line. Ball's on the ground. Had it been a live game, it would have either been recovered by the defense for a touchdown, or they would have had the ball inside the 4-yard line. And Dabo reacted to that live, broke down what happened, how it went wrong, etc. When Peter Woods had a big stop as a freshie, 5-star defensive tackle out of Alabama, a guy that Clemson won out over the Tide. He was breaking it down. Love this guy. Here's what he did this spring. Here's the play call we had on here. Here's the look he saw. Here's why he did what he did. And it does two things. Number one, it makes the spring game a hell of a lot more entertaining for us as fans, doesn't it? Like our job, me and Lonzo's job, play-by-play guy's job. As a play-by-play guy, you have one job. That's what? Here's what just happened on the field. Here's what is happening, and here's what just happened. A color guy's job is to what? Analyze it. Here's what I think went down. Here's the what I think this guy thought, or this guy saw, or why this guy went here and that guy went there. Ain't nobody know more than the guy who did it than the guy who called the play for him to do it, right? So to have Dabo doing that makes it, if nothing else, a hell of a lot more entertaining and compelling. Dabo calling color was more compelling than Roman Harper calling. And that's a compliment to Dabo, not an insult to Roman. Roman did a great job in Columbia. Dabo on color was phenomenal. But the second thing it does is it opens up a way for Dabo Swinney for effectively 3 hours to place he and his coaching staff and his personality and his charisma on display. So if you're a recruit, and let's say you are Peter, and you've got an option. Alabama wants you. Clemson wants you. There's 3 hours where Dabo's interacting with his guys, and not just coaching. He's on the sideline interviewing them, right? Asking them questions, giving them input, coaching. And it lets you get a little bit of a background reveal to a guy that, yeah, like if you're a player being recruited, sure, you're going to have a lot of interaction. Both Dabo and Shane yesterday would have sat in their office meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting with the recruits who were on campus and elected to be there for the spring game. But you're only going to get so much exposure to Dabo in a coaching element before you have to sign the dotted line and agree to Dabo being your coach. You're only going to get Shane in a limited amount of experience of Shane while he's coaching until you sign the dotted line to make Shane Beamer your head coach. If you weren't at Clemson's spring game, and even if you were, there's 3 hours of Dabo being Dabo as both a coach and a character. Because you know who probably was watching that game? The parents of recruits, right? And if you're a parent of a recruit and there is any emphasis on, I want to make sure my kid is playing for a coach who's a good guy, who has a good personality, who I feel like my kid is going to grow and learn from, Dabo showed you he's that guy on Saturday. For him to agree to do that was fantastic, man. It was fantastic. I thought it was great. So there's just a couple more thoughts from the spring game. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we got to get some NBA playoffs in here. Paul George out for the entire first round. Ja Morant may miss at least one more game with a busted wrist. Anthony Davis left the game due to injury. He did return. Do we have an update on him? Giannis Antetokounmpo, Tyler Hero, amongst the ranks of superstars who got injured in game 1, round 1. What impact does that have on the NBA playoffs, and who do we like to move on? Give you some thoughts on that and more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Alonso and you. This is the Fan Upstate. Guys, got a live read. Stay right there. We will be right back. So this weekend I guess it was this weekend, there was a pay-per-view boxing event called YouTube Creator Clash. And it was basically YouTube creators boxing other YouTube creators, which is fine. It's just a way to spark interest and get attention. And you know what they're not doing is selling it as legitimate professional boxing. That's another discussion for another time. I didn't know about it until Marisha Ray, who voices Keyleth and Bo in the Critical Role series, she was actually fighting at Creator Clash, which I find hilarious because she's a tiny little bitty thing. Anyway, imagine going into this and drawing long-term professional wrestler John Morrison as the guy that you have to step into the ring and
Who
box.
looks really thick, by the way. Not in a bad way. I mean, he's
jacked.
Yeah.
That would suck. Imagine putting in to do this and thinking you're going to get like some dork in his mom's basement with a camera set up. And they're like, no. Noted multi-time WWE champion John Morrison is your guy. Ooh. Suddenly my ankle doesn't feel so good.
I don't know. I'm watching this thing over and over again. I'm not sure he connected. I think my dude took a dive. Show it again. Let me see. I think he took a dive. That first, well, I don't know. Maybe he didn't. The first jab to the nose was pretty good. And then the right that took him down. I was almost thought he whiffed.
I don't know if I can make this. Because not only is it under this time, but now there's a jersey hanging off the edge, so I got limited space.
Don't get anything on that jersey.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I think I get a corner and hope I get a good roll. Didn't get the roll. Angle was good. The sign damn.
It got stuck in between the rim and the backboard. Hate when that happens. Don't be gone too long. I've always been a fan of Demir Bird, by the way, Trey. So I'm good with it. And when we did the breaking news, I don't think you did the breaking news sponsor.
I did not. Crap. Good call.
Yeah, we haven't plugged that either. Even though you did just do a promo, we haven't plugged the fact that we're going to be there. And
I'll do
that's
that when we come back here.
like next week, right?
Yeah, Thursday. Next Thursday. Just as every email about something I have forgotten to do says, gentle reminder that next Thursday, April 27th, there are two major events happening. Number one, and by far the lesser of the two, is the National Football League Draft, which will commence the evening of April 27th. The other major event that's happening is that the great one, Lonzo, the man in the box, is being let out as he will lead us, the intrepid adventurer that he is, to our first live remote of 2023 on the Rob Brown Show. Ya boys will both be live and in living color at Twin Peaks. Right down the road here in Greenville, Woodruff Road. We'll be live at Twin Peaks. We will be doing the entire show from 9 a.m. until noon. The doors will open at 11 a.m. So what do we encourage you to do? Show up at 9, tailgate the parking lot from 9 till 11, and that 11, come on in, get yourself some from scratch food served by the world famous Twin Peaks girls. Get yourself with me some of that famous 29-degree brewski, and let's talk football, y'all.
Okay, it's okay to be a little raucous in the tailgating part, but when you enter the place, please do it in an orderly fashion.
No.
And if you don't know where we are, just listen, because you'll be able to hear Rob somewhere and know there he is. There he is.
How dare you say something so insulting and also remarkably
I will
accurate.
say yesterday while I was out in public again, couldn't find Rob, didn't realize he had already left the premises, but we were listening. Because there was a good shot, as my son pointed out, in the well, we heard Rob. So if we can hear Rob in the well during a wrestling event, we're probably going to hear him in South Carolina Comic-Con. So if you don't see us right away, when you come out to Twin Peaks to see us, just listen and you'll hear him. He's there.
Twin Peaks next Thursday. Doors open at 11. You are more than welcome. You have Zoe's permission.
I might not get to go now after all that. So, I mean,
we'll see.
Permission may be denied.
I doubt it. I'm okay with it. And I mean, we all know it's up to me. Twin Peaks next Thursday. Doors open at 11. Tailgate starts at 9 in the parking lot. You can come on out. Like I said, we'll be off the air at noon. I'll be sticking around for a couple of hours to have some hot wings and some brewskis with you.
I'll stay a little bit, but then I got to come back to work because I got to come back to work. I got work to do.
Sounds terrible.
I've got other duties.
I do too, but I'm putting them off until that evening because I want to hang out with y'all. So come on by Twin
You'll
Peaks.
just see me sitting over there uncomfortable. You don't want that because it's gonna ruin your. It's like, Lonzo, come to our party. Why? You're just gonna go, Lonzo. You don't look like you're having a good time. Okay, so I just won't come. That way we don't have to worry about ruining anything. But I am going to be there next Thursday. I'm going to have fun. Never had their food before. Going to love talking to draft because it's the NFL draft, and I will spend a little time.
Come give Lonzo a hand hug.
Hand hug. That's a good move. Hudson.
Come on by. Tailgate starts at 9. Doors open at 11. Show is on until noon. Then Zoe and I will hang out for a little while. I will hang out for longer. We got wings. We got pretzel bites. We got 29-degree beer, which, by the way, is the optimal beer serving temperature. So you can bet Rob Brown will have. I'm not eating anything unhealthy until next Thursday, and then I will turn back into a gluttonous slob.
You know, the other thing you can do, and this is really, really cool. Once you're already there. You're just getting started. You might as well hang around for that excellent show that comes on from 3 to 7 Offsides with Mark Ryan. And I think Diesel will be there also.
Pretty sure Diesel will be there.
Yeah.
Too.
So, I mean, you can hang out with those guys too. So you can make it an all day thing because the fan is going to be there all day.
Correct. We'll be there in the morning, in the afternoon. Mark and Diesel will be there in the evening, taking you right up to the start of the National Football League.
By
draft.
the way, grill Diesel on his NFL knowledge. He will astound you.
He's a Brace guy. He's got to be a Brace. No, you know what?
He does a great pregame show for the Carolina Panthers. So he knows a lot about the Carolina Panthers, and he's very positive about it. So you make sure you talk to him. You're going to come away going, yeah, the Panthers are going to do well because that's what he does. He spreads joy when it comes to the Panthers.
2 hours before every Carolina Panther kickoff is the Carolina Kickoff Show starring Diesel himself on Classic Rock 101.1. Make sure you tune into that, and make sure you tune into all of our shows next Thursday. We will be live at Twin Peaks. All right, going to talk NBA, but before I get there, let me knock out this Jalen Hurts story. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter. Beat the books with BetQL, and do not forget to tune in on Saturdays to the BetQL Network when Bet for the Cycle, the best damn baseball show in all the land, airs, starring Cody Decker, myself, Hayden Ass Mario, noon to 4 on the BetQL Network every single Saturday, y'all. Jalen Hurts just got paid. He got the bag, y'all. Got the bag.
Wow. So all that narrative that we heard before about Cleveland messing everybody over, it was just narrative.
For the record, JJ got, what was it, $175-ish guaranteed? Let's see, let me pull that number again. 179,304 guaranteed. Deshaun got, what was it, 250 guaranteed? So he is still a quarter shy of Deshaun's contract.
Well, then how are they saying that he is the highest paid player
Because
in history?
They count total salary.
Okay.
Deshaun got $230 million fully guaranteed. Jalen has escalators, clauses, incentives, etc., that he will have to meet. Now, if Jalen does everything that's in his contract, then Jalen Hurts would make a full 255, which would make him the highest paid National Football League player of all time. But there's a lot of incentives that they put in there that are difficult to make. For instance, I can almost guarantee he's going to have an incentive in there that's going to be worth $7, $8, $9, $10 million of make the Pro Bowl. There's going to be incentives in there that are be a first-team All-NFL player according to the AP. There's going to be some in there that are make the playoffs, win the division, win the Super Bowl, etc. Now, if he hits all of them, he will become the highest, when I say paid, I mean literally checks scratched player of all time. He has the highest value contract of all time. We are still waiting to see the deets drop on that contract. Deshaun's contract was 5 years, $230 million, all of it guaranteed, including a $45 million signing bonus right out the gate. Jalen's contract checks him in at a $51 million salary per season on average. But again, a lot of that is going to be incentive, not a lot of it. A chunk of it is going to be incentive laden. There's going to be certain numbers that he has to meet in order to get to that spot. So Deshaun's, the word guaranteed is what is holding up the Lamar contract, right? I got no doubt that Lamar Jackson would have likely accepted 255 all guaranteed. Hell, he would probably accept 230 if it was all guaranteed. What Lamar is hung up on is that guaranteed money, right? Now, would Lamar Jackson accept 179,304 guaranteed? If the answer is yes, we will know by the end of the week. Because while it is the guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson that threw the NFL's quarterback market into whack, it is not the 230. The 230, I'm sure the Ravens would have matched. It is the 230 fully guaranteed that Lamar has balked at so far. So the question's going to be, do the Ravens look at Lamar now and go, all right, tell you what, we'll give you the same contract that Eagles just gave to Jalen. Jalen just took the Eagles to the dance, right? He took them, they didn't finish the trip, but he took them to the promised land and he gave them the sweet smell of victory. Lamar, as Lonzo has mentioned time and time again, ain't done that yet. So my suspicion is that the Baltimore Ravens will likely, not guaranteed, but likely offer up a contract similar to what Jalen Hurts just got and see if he bites on that. There is the possibility. Texas said, how is Jalen the highest if Patrick has $500 million? So the way that I'm looking at it is per year. The Chiefs extended Patrick Mahomes by 10 years at $503 million. That's an average. That's an average of what? 5.3 mil a year, whatever it is. It's about the average money. Jalen just got a contract that is worth half as much, but worth more per season. Typically, when you hear people talking about highest paid contracts, it is salary per year, right? It is number of dollars divided by number of years of the contract. So if you signed a $503 million contract for 20 years, you would have half the value of Patrick Mahomes. That's typically the way that it is reported. So Mahomes is going to make, let's see, a base salary for 2023. Mahomes is going to make a base salary of $5.5 million, a roster bonus of $22.4 million, a restructure bonus of $12 million, and a workout bonus of $500,000. That is going to bring him to a cap number of $39.6 million.
And probably win twice as many Super Bowls as any of the other quarterbacks you mentioned.
I mean, so far, so good. So far, so good. The Eagles, sorry to tell them, the Eagles are not better this year than they were last year. Last year, they went to the dance and couldn't get it done. The Chiefs, question mark. I don't see a decline in Kansas City. I do see a decline out of the Eagles.
You are questioning the Kansas City Chiefs?
Disrespect! Is that disrespect?
That was disrespect.
That's disrespect. That's it.
I'll let them know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl because they have been #disrespected.
It's people like you, Rob. People like you.
I know.
And your disrespect.
I am very, very sorry. It is my disrespect that did it. So when the Chiefs inevitably win the 2023-24 Lombardi Trophy, you can all look back to April 17th, 2023 and say, damn it, Rob Brown, you did this when you #disrespected.
Let me write it down. We're gonna clip this so I can play it back to you and you'll know it's your fault.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm here for it. I am. You can put it on the Fearless Predictions.
I'm writing it down on my list.
If the Chefs win the SB this year, it is because Rob had the audacity to disrespect them in April of 23 by simply saying they're not better than they were last year, even though they're also not worse.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
The raw, sheer, unbridled, entire audacity of me. I sincerely apologize to all of you.
So if you were, I mean,
don't tell Travis Kelce. He'll be furious,
dude. I already texted him.
Oh,
listen. When it comes to disrespect, when it comes to money, how come you don't ever hear Patrick Mahomes complaining about that?
Because Patrick Mahomes has a $503 million contract.
He didn't have to beg for it. Do you think he deserved it though?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
He's done nothing but, just like win the AFC almost every year, been to a couple of Super Bowls, and he's kind of just getting started.
I mean,
but hey,
he's been started for a while.
Well,
he's been very good for a few years.
He's been in the league like 5 years?
Yeah.
But kudos to Jalen Hurts because he was basically on the chopping block a couple of years ago. People were like, he's not good enough. The Eagles need to draft another quarterback. They need to get rid of him. And then he took him to the Super Bowl. And he looked really good last year. He absolutely did.
For sure. Jalen Hurts looked good last year, especially late, right? In the playoffs. I remember going into the playoffs last year, and the big question that got asked over and over was, is Jalen the guy? Can Jalen get it done? There was no questions about the wide receiver core, the offensive line, which was very good, by the way. The defense flew around the field. The only question anybody had about the Eagles was, can Jalen Hurts be the guy? And while the finger does not have a ring on it, Jalen gave everybody the finger and got them there. And for the record, the Eagles played a fine game in the Super Bowl. They just got Mahomes'd because the Chiefs were that good. And also, #disrespected.
Does the trend continue? Because most people aren't disrespected the way that the Chiefs are. Does the trend continue when someone gets paid a lot that suddenly their next season are not that great? I'm not worried about the Chiefs because they're disrespected already. So they're good. They use that as fuel, as motivation.
Yeah, because #disrespect.
Yeah, I mean, people like you, Rob.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts just got paid. Will he have a lull of a season next year?
#disrespect.
We all saw what happened to Deshaun when he got paid.
He sucked last year.
It was bad. It really was bad.
So the
nobody felt sorry for him, but still, it was bad.
The Eagles, as of today, are working with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins next year. I would like to see them go one more wide receiver in the draft. I think they're fine at tight end with Dallas Goedert. I think they're fine across the offensive line, anchored by Jason Kelce. I think that they could probably.
Oh, now you disrespected Travis's brother. What are you doing, man?
Chiefs v. Eagles Super Bowl. It's guaranteed. Repeat. #disrespect. I think they could probably use a little help at the offensive tackle spot on both sides of the ball. They lost a couple of guys defensively they'll need to replace, but the Eagles are going to be fine. I'll tell you what, Jalen does now get to prove himself, right? You got to prove yourself twice. You got to prove yourself to get the fat stacks, and then you got to prove yourself again that you deserve the fat stacks. And this is his chance to do just that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. When we come back, we wrap this bad boy up. We call it a day. Next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Luke, I feel like I should be the judge of that, sir. Big pimento cheese guy over here.
Yeah, the question is, what inspired him to wear that? Was it an old school rapper? Or, I mean, because I'd respect that part. Or is it, what's his
Samuel
name?
L. Jackson.
Okay, so it's not a former coach for the Tampa Bay.
Big Bruce Arians guy over here?
Yeah.
No, I'm a Seamus guy.
Okay, all right.
Or the truth is, I just look damn good in this hat.
There you go. I mean, that helps.
I am out of here right after the show. Well, after I cut promos and then right after the show. Because I've got to go to the Swamp Rabbits Media Day before the playoffs begin.
Well, I'm going to kind of need your help at some point during the week. So
with star stuff? Okay.
Because, you sent me all those things. But you know what? You sent me the day, and there's 3 hours that I'm having to comb through for each thing to try to find.
Yeah, I realized that after I sent them.
I even went back on net storage, which I shouldn't be able to do. But some of the clips themselves are on net storage. I'm able to grab some. But the other problem is almost every clip that you sent me was like 15 minutes long. And you expect me to – I'm not saying I can't. I already did on some of it. But get it down to between 45 seconds and a minute or less than that.
No, I can go through and
I am award winning.
So
unless I've lost my touch, like I think I have, I might not be able to squeeze everything. Got my beginning, my middle, and my end in there. Doesn't mean that you'll like the beginning, the middle, and the end, but they're in there. And now I'm putting stuff in between and then trying to hear what it sounds like. And sometimes I do that, and then I put the music in and it doesn't sound right, and I have to move them around again. Take a fast break.
see what Corey from Channel 2 has to say. He's something else. Looking better than Harris from Channel 5. You could just look at the weather on your phone. I like Corey from Channel 2.
Progressive can't help you from becoming your parents, but we can help you compare rates on home insurance with Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurance. Comparison and syndication online.
When working with your partner in your property search, know that agents are realtors are different. Realtors are bound by code of ethics to ignore best interests first. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who you are. This afternoon, raising with plenty of sun, high of 71.
Weather is brought to you by Beacon. Beacon has the newest power tool in roofing, the Beacon Pro Plus mobile app. Now through June, purchase online with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to 1,500 bucks. Beacon, always building. From the Ingles Market Studio.
Out of state, 97.7
97.1
FM.
FM Smart.
Always live from the Free Odyssey.
Welcome in Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending and he will tell us why. And then I looked at my sheet and had no idea what the first word was that I wrote, but I figured it out because Batman skills. The first thing trending is snowing.
So I'm assuming it is a genuine weather thing, only because I was perusing my golf website earlier and I came across a dude who said that he got in 2 rounds of golf on Saturday and Sunday in Wisconsin, and the temperature was like 75. And today it is snowing quite heavily in the area. Let me just tell you that when I moved here, and I got told, it snows every now and then, right? It snows every now and then. Once every few years, you'll get a little light dusting. And then I got caught in a damn blizzard one day. Thankfully,
it
was not
a blizzard, but still.
It was a blizzard.
I mean, for a Florida guy, yeah, probably.
We might as well have been in Russia. It was a blizzard, ladies and gentlemen.
Glad you made it home to the gulag.
It was unbelievable. I will tell you that I had this romanticized image in my head of like waking up and sitting in the window with some hot cocoa and a blanket with the girlfriend and looking out at the whimsical landscape which sprawled out before me. And what I got was, this is a nightmare!
It was a nightmare.
I thought hell was hot. Nope.
Also not a blizzard.
Frozen.
Yeah, it's snowing in several places, including Chicago, who were complaining about it. It was 82 yesterday. It's snowing today. Yeah, well, that happens. Let's see. The next thing that's trending is Joe Burrow.
Joey B. I don't know why he's trending other than to say if Jalen's worth 255, 179.03 guaranteed, at the least, so is Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
so at the least,
that's
why
he's trending. I'm sure he woke up with a smile going,
I'm about to get that paper. Yeah. I get that paper.
All right. The next thing that's trending is Chris Jericho.
Break the walls down.
The Ocho, the Wizard.
The Wizard. You just made the list. You stupid idiot. Jericho. Does Jericho have more one-line drops than any other wrestler ever?
Best at reinventing himself.
Yeah, everybody
for sure.
else has like 1 or 2 that kind of stick with him. Those I just mentioned from Jericho are like all within the last 5 years of a 20-plus year career. What did he do?
All right. He has tweeted over the weekend that he would not work with a supposed returning CM Punk. And now people are believing that that's a work. So he will because he may be the only one who actually will work with CM Punk.
So there are 2 big rumors floating around right now about AEW as they get prepped for their Wembley Stadium debut, of which, by the way, they've sold almost 60,000 tickets. So it's not a bad show. Rumor 1 is that Punk will make his return, that the EVPs have given him the green light. He has done whatever he needed to do to get their forgiveness. And that obviously now Jericho's talking smack, which if you come to AEW, you have a program with Jericho. That's how it works.
But he hadn't really yet. So
true.
Yeah.
The other rumor is that Tony Khan is considering Bill Goldberg for don't do it.
Yeah, that was on the list,
Don't
but
do it,
it's because
Tony.
Eric Bischoff said he should do it.
Yeah, shut up, Bischoff. Nobody wants you. Nobody needs you. All right, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the show. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo, and this was the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
No, not today. Rob has to leave.
I'm going to go ahead and say Taco Tuesday needs to be a thing for us now.
So I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. See you for Taco Tuesday tomorrow.
Okay.
I do have to take off because it is Swamp Rabbits Media Day before they leave down to Jacksonville to play a playoff series in the worst city in the history of America. So I'm going to go get some interviews with coaches and players and whatnot before we run it for you later this week. So I do have to bail. I thank you all for being here. You are spectacular people and very attractive. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.